You know what they say about economists, they were invented to make astrologers look good. And so I thought we might counterbalance that by bringing on somebody who had slightly different views. I'm hoping that Damien Pudner, who is an economist, and the last time I met him was at the kind of cathedral of capitalism, the Ned in the city. Morning, Damien.
Morning, Kelvin. How are you? Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you, matey. You're looking well, actually. So obviously you're not spending too much time in the Ned. So let's just look at all the kind of trumpets are sound. All the sirens are going off at the moment around Burnham that says whatever else is going to happen, he's going to put up taxes. And I saw a figure this morning saying that if you collate everything, even this year, it'll be 38 billion. Surely what's happened over the last 2 years would be enough to tell you we shouldn't be doing that.
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? I mean, we're taxed enough in this country as it is. Nearly 39% of GDP is taken in taxes by the government. That's the highest since the Second World War. So to put taxes up again, or to think of putting taxes up again, is just, it's irrational thinking in my view. It's going to hurt the economy. It's going to drive away, those producers, the wealth creators, the entrepreneurs, the risk takers. At the end of the day, these are the people that we need to be attracting to the country, not penalizing them and putting them into the category of we don't want you because you're successful. These are the people that we need to be bringing in. And it just seems crazy that you're right. This report came out this morning, potentially 38 billion of extra taxes over the next parliament. I mean, it's just crazy.
So why does Burnham allow people constantly to be speaking? I mean, I presume this guy, Lord O'Neill, I'm not saying he's not a clever guy, but actually an economist, when you work at Goldman's, an economist is a long way down, right? They're producing reports and they're supposed to be guiding how trading happens and what's going to happen in the future. Actually, it's being done really just as a kind of nice to have. The traders are operating in the real world. Why is he allowing everybody to say whatever they like, which the effect of which is just putting fear into the hearts of people like me and others?
Well, this is it. I mean, all this chatter and rumor and whispers in Westminster of what he's going to do or what he's not going to do. He's got maybe Gary Stevenson giving advice or some of his SPAD's advice. You've got Lord O'Neill. You've got this person, that person. It doesn't make any sense to me because all it's doing is creating confusion to the bond markets. And that's going to push up borrowing costs because nobody really knows what his plan is. I don't even know if he knows what his plan is. I think he's just getting lots and lots of ideas in, and then he's going to work out, well, we'll take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we'll see what kind of works. But I don't really think he has a plan. I heard somebody this morning saying, well, he does have a plan and it's all going to come out. I don't believe it. I really don't. And you're right, these economists, there's so many economists out there, lots of different theories of where we should be going. At the end of the day, what we really need is to get back to free markets, capitalism, reward wealth, reward hard work, keep more of what you earn. And that is going to bring the right people in and the right incentives to make Britain grow again. And that's what we need. We need Britain to grow again. Everything else is irrelevant. You can cut welfare, you can cut spending, you can increase taxes. Nothing is going to work unless you have growth.
Correct. So, right, you're the Chancellor, right? In a surprise announcement, Burnham says that Damien Pudner is now going to be the new Chancellor. I want you to say 3 bullet points that you would do when you walked into number 11.
Right. Straight away, cut welfare spending. Number 2, reduce planning, regulation and restrictions so we can build more houses, build more energy infrastructure. And 3, we will cut taxes. Simple. Personal taxes and taxes on investment and on businesses. Those 3 things.
Right. Okay. You come in. You go in and see old Bernie baby, and you say, "Look, this is the way forward, Bernie." And what happens? How long is it? So does he accept any of that? Do you think, or does he simply say, "I'm afraid, Damien, we don't know each other well, but you're fired"?
No, I think the reality is that I probably would get fired because my ideology is completely different to Labour's and socialism. But the reality is that we're in the position we're in, and we have been for the last 2 or 3 decades, because we've been moving further and further away from the free markets and closer to this kind of socialist regime, and we need to change that. Andy, I'm sure, knows that spending is out of control, that something has to be done on welfare. There's too much fraud. There's too many hangers on. There's too many people who are getting paid not to work when they're perfectly capable of working. So that has to change. But politically for him, it's very, very difficult to do, given his ideology, the public sector, the union power, et cetera, et cetera. So he's probably going to raise taxes. We're even talking about maybe a higher rate tax of 50%. This is idiocy. This is the wrong way to go about making this country successful. The only way we're going to bring down borrowing and have a sustainable debt future is if we generate growth. You are only going to generate growth by decreasing taxes and increasing incentives to invest and work.
Okay, so the takeaway from our conversation, and we're going to have other conversations in the future, Damien, is the idea that the big sign of the direction of travel of our country is going to be raising income tax levels to new highs, or going back to a kind of Gordon Brown era.
Yeah, not just income tax, but taxes on savings, taxes on property, taxes on investment, taxes across the board. I think that's what is going to happen. And I don't think Andy is even contemplating the real hard work, the reset that needs to be done, which is to tackle spending.
Okay, so I saw a bizarre thing this morning in which Rachel Reeves, I didn't watch it yesterday, in which Rachel Reeves says that he's got to have a plan, right? Well, that made me laugh, because after all, one of the great criticism of Labour, of which we could be here for years on end, is that in fact, one of the reasons they collapsed is because they didn't have a plan. So
you would have thought 14 years in opposition, they would have a concrete plan when they came into power. And it was obvious they were going to win that election. I mean, the Tories had, I wouldn't even call them Tories at the end. They'd moved so far.
They were not Tories. They were not Tories.
No, they moved so far from core conservative values, or what I would say are core conservative values. They basically were a liberal centrist party. So they deserve to be kicked out. And Kemi is saying all the right things now, but will she be able to get it through if she was in power? I don't know.
So one of the disturbing aspects, I think, of where reform stands today, and when you're a one-man band like Reform is that if the leader finds 5 million quid under the bed, and then keeps stum about it, and then gets hacked by the Russians, and now we all find out about it, right? People feel uneasy about that, okay? It's on a 60-40 split, and I imagine the 40% mainly are people watching this kind of show, because they don't feel upset about it at all.
But no,
go on.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. It's a distraction. Good. At the end of the day, I think most people, you're right, watching this show, and most people, in the general public, couldn't give a damn about the 5 million. I honestly don't think so. And the one thing I will say about Reform, and it is pretty much a one-man show, you're right, although that is changing slowly, is that they're the only political party at the moment who are asking the right questions. How big should the state be? Why is energy so expensive? Why can't we build anything in Britain? Why do we tax wealth as if it's a sin? Why do we reward idleness? I'm not endorsing anyone, but they're the only party that seems to be asking the right questions. So it's not surprising that they're leading in the polls.
That's correct. I am fearful of it all. I don't agree with him going to Clacton.
No.
And he himself says he had no idea that everybody else was going to boycott the thing. That, I think, was an error, right? If that's true, I don't agree with it. Look, I'm a big fan of Farage, right? And I am worried that the 25% who vote for reform have nowhere else to go. They don't have a natural family. They can't say, we'll go back to the Tories. Many of them was the reason why they went to reform is because they didn't like it. And although she seems all right, she never talks about those kinds of issues that you're talking about. But look, Damien, I've got to go now, but thank you very much indeed for your time. And we'll talk again. And what I'd like next time we talk is to talk about specifics, absolutely specifics of things that you would do to actually motivate. Right, I've
got a long list of very specific things.
Okay, Damien, I'll speak to you next week about them. Thank you very much
indeed.
Thanks,
mate. Cheers.
Cheers.